Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from quiet queens to quaint questers, and today we're talking about Tiamat.
The Dungeoncast. All right, Brian. This is the first episode we're doing in this new series.
A new series
called Deities and Demigods.
Deities and Demigods.
In which we will be discussing all the various deities and demigods.
And deities.
Other greater powers too.
Greater powers.
Like demon princes and whatnot. We'll probably add them to this list.
Well, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and we're starting with Tiamat.
Okay, cool. I knew that.
Do you even know who Tiamat is?
Dragon Queen?
She is the Dragon Queen.
A god?
Without a doubt.
A goddess.
She is a goddess, yes.
Pardon my gendering.
I chose Tiamat because she's probably the most iconic evil D&D deity.
It's between like her and probably like the Raven Queen, maybe.
You
I
know,
feel like a lot of people use the Raven Queen.
A lot of people like the Raven Queen, including me. She's a great deity, but as far as I know, she was introduced in 4th edition.
Okay.
She's like
so it doesn't go with that. It doesn't have deep roots like Tiamat would.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Which I find, I think, I swear to God, like the only thing people like from 4th edition is the Raven Queen. But I mean, I love 4th edition.
I love Once a Days. Those are great.
Yeah, those are great. It's actually funny how popular the Raven Queen became. But she's a cool concept, and we will have an episode on her one day. But I would say that Tiamat's definitely one of the most popular villains in all of D&D. So much so that in, I think it was the late 80s, early 90s, it came out with the D&D cartoon. I'd say like animated adventures, and it's a cool show. I like that show. But the main, or one of the main villains, is Tiamat.
Cool.
And she's a bit different from like the actual D&D Tiamat, but it's mostly the same. So Tiamat is an incredibly powerful draconic goddess. She's considered to be both the queen and also the mother of all evil dragons.
Oh shit! So she birthed evil dragons.
Yes.
Like, literally created them.
That is what is said. Yes,
that is what is said.
There is some conflicting lore, and we will get into that. She's most often depicted as a 5-headed dragon.
Okay.
With each head being the head of one of the 5 main chromatics, so white, black, green, blue, and red. The red is usually like the biggest of the 5 heads, and not always. Sometimes they're all even, but it is very often depicted that the red is the main head.
Okay, I was going to ask if that's what that signified. Sure.
And it's because the reds are technically the mightiest of chromatics, and they're supposed to be Tiamat's favorites.
The most dominant as
well.
well.
They're the most dominant, yeah. And she rewards those that are dominant and take what they want.
Okay.
She also has a wyvern tail on her because
those are like spiky, right? Or poisonous?
It's a tail with like a scorpion poisonous thing at the end. A stinger, that's the word I'm looking for.
Stinger.
I'm tired today, so I'm like, what word is it? But I think that's to signify, wyverns do fall under dragons, so I guess she would have sway over wyverns as well. Now the name Tiamat is actually based off an ancient Mesopotamic goddess of the Salt Sea.
Okay.
They don't really share anything in common, except for one thing. The ancient Mesopotamic deity Tiamat, she's considered the mother of all monsters in ancient mythology. And we will kind of talk about Tiamat and her prolific
like affinity
breeding.
Form. Oh, okay, I see.
And giving birth to many children. So we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Well, dragons do like to breed, right?
Oh yeah, they do. And I think Tiamat more than others. But she has other avatars, not just the 5-headed dragon. That's probably the most common and probably her favored one. But Tiamat does deal with other humanoids. So sometimes she takes the form of a like human sorcerer with like long black hair.
Cool. Comes down to the mortal realm, the material plane, if you will.
Yeah, well, maybe she'll appear in someone's dreams or something. Sometimes so this
Freddy
is a little
Krueger
conflicting because there is a setting called Dragonlance, which I've spoken about a lot. And in Dragonlance, there's a deity named Tiamat.
Okay.
And she's like the main evil deity in that world. And there are so many similarities between her and Tiamat that they're practically the same, but they are very different. But Tiamat does have an avatar where she comes into mortals' dreams as a dark-haired seductress.
Ooh.
And so that is another avatar that she can have. She also has an avatar of like a great warrior in black armor. So she has these
Cool.
various avatars. She's a many-faceted deity.
I see. Okay.
The current 5e lore has her as chaotic evil, which is pretty fitting. She's also been depicted as lawful evil in previous editions. It kind of varies because so Tiamat wasn't always a deity. Right now, she's a lesser deity. In some editions, she's been a greater deity, but in the original Dungeons and Dragons game, she was just a really, really fucking powerful dragon that ended up kind of hooking up with the powers of hell, and she actually was an archdevil of the first layer of hell, Avernus, of the 9 hells, which explains a lot because I didn't know that when I first got into D&D, and I always thought it was really bizarre that this dragon deity lives in the 9 hells. It just never made sense to me. But we'll kind of get into that later. Let's talk about her origins. So, Tiamat she has two origins. There is a deity named Io, who is the all-father dragon deity.
That's a dope name.
Yeah, it's a really cool name. And he or she, I think Io's normally depicted as a he, but I've seen Io depicted as a she, and I just prefer the she one.
Okay.
So I'm going to continue to say she. But Io is supposed to be the mother of Tiamat and Bahamut. They're supposed to be twins.
I see. Okay.
That is one example of the lore. There's another where Tiamat and Bahamut are actually two halves of a whole that is Io, and that Io was split in half during the Dawn War.
That's tight.
I think it's really cool. This is 4th edition lore.
The Dawn War.
Yeah, this is 4th edition lore. And when Io was split in twain, two deities were born from it. One was Tiamat and one was Bahamut.
You said Cleft in twain.
Yeah.
Some warrior came with their giant cleaver and split this god, and the powers of the divine kept it as two beings instead of just killing it.
It was a primordial, but yes.
Okay.
Essentially, yes. Which I like this lore.
Okay.
I like this lore a
It
lot.
sounds
There's
really
a
cool to
lot
me.
of really cool 4th edition lore. Here's the thing. Okay, sorry, this is a little bit off track, but the more I research stuff that has to do with Dungeons and Dragons, the more I realize that as much as I love 4th edition, it was almost designed to piss everybody who ever liked D&D off because they change everything. Like they didn't just change like the way the game was played, like when it comes to like, you know.
Oh, I get what you're saying. They like scrapped everything.
They
and
scrapped everything.
And kept the names.
They kept the names.
Changed the lore.
They changed all the lore. Now, most of it ended up being really cool ideas. Like, really cool ideas. But I think just the drastic change from 3.5 to 4th, and not just the way the game is played and the way the books are laid out, but in the lore behind all the different deities and the abyss and all this. Like, it all just changed. It was like, I think if I would have played D&D before 4th edition and then 4th edition came out, I think I would have hated it too.
You probably, that's where the split comes from with your audience, and now you have Pathfinder, which is like the embodiment of 3.5 as I understand it.
Yeah, that's pretty much
I'm sure Pathfinder's a great game. The numbers are huge. I always hear about the numbers being so huge.
You know, it is what it is. One day we'll have to play Pathfinder.
Yeah,
I've played it, and it's not my cup of tea, generally speaking, but it's a good game.
Okay.
All right, but let's get back on track. So yeah, the concept of Io being split in twain is 4th edition lore, and I think it's really cool. But either way, Tiamat has this inherent connection to Bahamut.
Okay.
Who is the father and king.
Bahamut's like the good one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Bahamut's the father and king of all good metallic dragons. And
those good metallic dragons.
Yeah, well, all good dragons. And that's the thing, because there are other dragons that are good that aren't metallic. And Tiamat is the mother and queen of all evil dragons, regardless of if they're chromatic or devastation or gem dragons or whatever.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Elemental dragons. There's all kinds of dragons we could talk about.
Oh, yeah.
So Io is considered like to be this lawful neutral deity of like balance and stuff. And because of this, like Bahamut and Tiamat are these extremes that are completely against each other in every concept and way. And so while Bahamut is the god of like justice and fairness and, you know, valor and nobility, Tiamat is the goddess of tyranny, envy, and greed and pride.
So they're like, mom and dad aren't inviting them to Thanksgiving, and they're not like sitting down at the table together.
They hate each other.
Well, I guess just mom
or dad or whatever.
Whatever,
mom, dad. But
parent.
the parent, they hate each other. They loathe each other. Their entire purpose of existence is to thwart the other.
Okay, cool. Super cool. And that embodies itself down the line with the chromatics and the metallics, right?
Yes, that's why there's such a strong opposition between the two.
For sure.
We will talk a little bit about that because that is a complicated relationship the Bahamut and Tiamat have.
Oh, yeah. Especially with like them polymorphing and being more like posing as mortals and shit.
And Bahamut loves to pose as a mortal, but that he'll get his own episode. So, okay. So let's talk about like who Tiamat is. If I were to give one word as a description for Tiamat's personality, vainglorious is the word that I would use.
Vainglorious?
Vainglorious. Have you ever heard that word?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It sounds like two words.
It is. They are mashed together, but it is one word. It is a word.
Well, you're just the big cheater.
Well, that's, take it up with the Webster's Dictionary.
For sure. I will.
Basically, she wants everything and everyone to worship, serve, and adore her in the way she feels she deserves.
Okay.
She is a queen. She is the queen. And she's the queen of the most ultimate beings on the planet, dragons.
Like my boots, mortals.
Exactly. She wants all the treasure. She wants all the reverence. She wants all the homage. She wants that. She just wants it. She wants it all. And she's greedy for it.
So let me ask you this. Yeah. If these dragons of hers, these chromatics, are going around collecting all this treasure and getting hordes of shit together, what's stopping her from coming down and being like, thanks for collecting all this gold that is now mine?
Well, I mean, gods can't just come into the material plane.
Oh, okay.
It's just not, because if they could, game over.
Yeah. Like how devils and demons have a hard time busting out.
Exactly.
Okay, sure.
We'll have to have an episode on planar interactions or something because
fantasy physics.
There's a lot of different explanations for why all these great evil things can't just get into the regular world normally.
We should do a line of episodes for fantasy physics.
Oh, yeah,
and
I
that
think
could be
so.
one of them.
Yeah, we should do a fantasy physics series. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's her basic personality, but her primary goals are defeat all good dragons. Good dragons suck. Fuck them.
I'm literally picturing a notepad.
Yeah, I know.
With an empty checkmark box on the end.
I know. That's check one. Check two is propagate her children. She wants her babies to just take over everything.
Propagate children.
And defeat, and not just defeat, but dominate Bahamut. Completely dominate him. I think sway him to evil is a big part of her. She wants to change him.
On the notepad, it says defeat Bahamut, and then it's scratched out, and it says dominate Bahamut.
Yeah.
Make Bahamut slave.
But it gets a little weird. It is said that her obsession with Bahamut has turned into almost incestual kind of thing where she wants him in every way possible.
Oh, just all the greed.
It's very Game of Thronesy. So yeah, there it is. I find that fascinating because she's just so sick, twisted, and corrupt. Her hatred it's kind of like the opposite of vampirism when the mortal loves somebody.
Yes.
But they became a vampire.
And now they obsess.
It's like this sick parody of love.
Right.
It's like her hatred of her sibling has twisted and become corrupted.
Yeah, it's
itself.
infused with this overarching greed, it sounds like. This envy or whatever it is. You just want you want it all.
Exactly. And that's exactly what Tiamat is.
You nasty.
She is very nasty. She spends most of her time torturing whoever
she can find.
She tortures all kinds of. She tortures
whatever
her
breaks
followers.
Through.
She tortures her children. She tortures her consorts. Maybe not outright. Maybe she'll be kind of pitting them against each other or mentally fucking with them.
Yeah, being sneaky about it because outright fucking with your followers isn't a great way to retain.
Yeah, although she does do that too.
Oh shit!
But yeah, no, she's ruthless and she
can't have that
incredibly powerful.
She can't have that many worshippers, right?
Tiamat has a fair amount of worshippers. She's a pretty big deity. Okay. She's a lesser deity now, but I always preferred her as a greater deity just because she's the main deity of evil dragons that are these big, bad, powerful things. Shouldn't their goddess be pretty big, bad, and powerful?
True.
And not to say lesser deity is anything to sneeze at, but I don't know. I always see her and Bahamut as greater deities, but I can understand why some people would want her as a lesser deity.
So she became, she ascended to godhood in 5e lore?
In 4e. Remember, 4e changes everything.
But that carries over into 5e?
No, it does not.
Okay.
They with 5th edition.
Just straight up, you're a god.
Yeah, well, in 4th edition, she was just named a greater deity. There was no excuse given. But remember, since they changed the origin lore, it kind of made more sense.
Okay.
But regardless, like it just kind of depends on what you want. I'm kind of used to her being a greater deity because Tinkesis in Dragonlance is a greater deity. She's one of the 3 great deities.
Okay, yeah.
So like I just have a hard time divorcing that concept. So she's always scheming, always planning, always trying to come into the mortal plane and take it over. That is just like so much so that like the first main adventure that 5th edition came out with, which was it was a 3-part series called first it was, oh my gosh, what was it called? I'm drawing a blank here. I remember that the second one was called Horde of the Dragon Queen, and the third one was called The Rise of Tiamat. Tyranny of Dragons. That's it.
Yeah, there
Tyranny
you
of
go.
Dragons is the name of the first part and the overarching story. And it's the very first adventure that came out with 5th edition. And I hear it's pretty good.
Okay, cool.
And in the end, you can fight Tiamat, and they have stats for her, and dear fucking Jesus, they are fucking powerful.
That sounds like you would need a short rest after that fight.
Yeah, I would definitely say you need a short rest after fighting Tiamat.
Let's take one.
All right.
Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode where we stop talking about that last thing we were talking about. We're going to talk about you guys and how much we love you. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate everybody who's been listening to the show. Thanks for making it to this part of the episode. Just thank you so much for leaving iTunes reviews and this and that, hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button. We see them all. We love them all. Keep commenting on our stuff. We want to talk to you.
It's true. We do love them all.
We love you all.
What else do we got to talk about?
We got to talk about how our ongoing contest that was ongoing for so long is now over.
It is. So 2 people won. I don't know who they are yet because we record this ahead of time.
Yeah, as of the time this episode drops, it's over.
Yeah.
Right now, as we're recording it, it's not quite over. But it is over. It's over. It's not over. It is over. We're in a time paradox.
Yeah, it's true. Well, congratulations to the winners, and we will announce you guys on the show as soon as we can.
Yeah.
You will have already been announced on Twitter without a doubt, and hopefully with the prizes heading to you.
Yeah, that being said, we also have we got a new patron on Patreon, and as such, we shout you out on the show. Sorry it's so delayed. As we said, we do record these ahead of time. So this is the first opportunity we've had to say thank you to Isaac M. for donating to our Patreon. So thank you, Isaac.
Thank you,
really
Isaac.
Appreciate it.
This episode's for you.
Yeah, man. You and you alone. Yeah, that being said, you can find us on patreon.com/the Dungeoncast. You can find us on soundcloud.com/the Dungeoncast. You can find us on YouTube if you search the Dungeoncast. Thank you, Josh Freeland. And you can find us if you on Twitter at the Dungeoncast. You can email us thedungeoncast@gmail.com. If you got something you want to say it. Tell us. Don't be scared. Leave an iTunes review. Tweet a link out to our show. It really helps us out a lot. Word of mouth is a great way to spread word. And God, man, just thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
And with that, we're going to end our short rest. And when we end our short rest, we go back to the show.
Back to the show.
Swan dive into the best podcast of your life.
All right, let's go. Okay, so we talked a bit about what Tiamat does, and she does some other things. She is infamous for having a myriad of consorts. She usually has 5.
Oh my!
She has one consort for each chromatic type.
Okay,
and they're usually the mightiest, powerful of their type.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
So like the most mighty and powerful red, most mighty and powerful green, the most accomplished, and the biggest horde.
So age isn't you have such a big horde. Age isn't a factor.
Age is a factor, which we'll get into.
You better be ancient.
She usually has them fight amongst themselves and like
Oh, you mean like the potential consort for each chromatic?
She usually has all 5 consorts with her in her Dragon Spawn Pits, which is where she is.
That's fun.
Dragon Spawn Pits is a very apt name because she does give birth there a lot. She's laying a lot of eggs. Because she fornicates with her consorts quite a lot. She usually has them fight for it or fight amongst each other, and it gets weird in the Dragon Spawn Pits, and we're gonna leave it at that. But age is a factor because when they get old enough to start to decline, she usually eats them. Yeah.
Listeners can't see my face, but I imagine it's a little bit shocking.
Yeah.
So this bee is a prey mantis.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, shoot.
Very much so. Furthermore, like she gives birth to a lot of children. They're usually mighty draconic monsters.
Oh, shoot.
Sometimes they end up being like demigods. She eats a lot of them. And I'm not playing around. She eats a lot of them. I think
my strong child. Nom 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 nom.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is she's known to eat any of them that show any type of bichromatic genetic expressions.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
So anything that's not like a pure red, basically?
Yeah, she'll eat it because, remember that she wasn't always a goddess.
Impure.
No, not impure. Like, too much like me. You're a competition. I eat you. Yeah.
So like
now,
you have two different types of dragon. You're too powerful.
You have 3 heads and 3 of them are like 3 different colors. Yeah, I'm eating you.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, and again, this ties into the early Tiamat lore where she was not a deity of any kind. And so, like, theoretically, a dragon could grow to be as powerful as her.
Okay, yeah.
This doesn't quite make as much sense now, but whatever.
Yeah,
she,
I wanted to
she
ask
eats her
you,
babies.
if it's so hard to get to the material plane or whatever after, as a god, if she has these consorts with her, she doesn't have an issue getting them to her?
No, because mortals can... I think the general concept is the more powerful the being is, the harder time they have transverting between planes.
Okay, cool. So there's like a firewall basically up.
Yeah, basically.
Between
Too
planes.
much data. So, yeah, there it is.
Stats don't compute.
Yeah, stats don't compute. Kurtlemak, you remember Kurtlemak? We talked about Kurtlemak in the last episode, kobolds.
Oh, man. Well, at that point, that was a while ago.
He's the god of kobolds.
The god of kobolds.
Yeah. The one that got trapped by Garl Glittergold in the Infinite Maze.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that was funny.
Kurtlemak is supposedly one of her children.
Okay.
So apparently she doesn't just breed with other dragons. Maybe she bred with a kobold. That doesn't seem quite right to be. But who's to say? Who knows who the Dragon Queen fornicates with? I don't want to talk about it.
If it was a kobold, that kobold was eating his Wheaties.
Yeah, apparently. Well, I do know that she in 4th edition, she had a Dragonborn consort who was like the most biggest, baddest level 30 Dragonborn.
Hell
ever.
yeah.
So, yeah. That dude exists.
Yeah,
he has a name.
triceps.
He has a name that I don't remember. All right, let's talk about where she
did
lives.
not skip leg day.
No, never. So as you know, Tiamat is placed in the 9 hells.
Yeah,
that's the traditional locale of her lair, which is named the Dragon Spawn Pits. I always kind of ask myself why, and the main reason is that, well, she wasn't always a deity. She was kind of a major evil dragon that because she was lawful evil and so powerful, they placed her in the lawful evil plane of existence, which is the 9 hells.
Okay.
And then they ended up building up some lore between her and the devils, in which case she she was subservient to Asmodeus, which again, I have personal problems with because Asmodeus was not always a deity either. And so not only was Tiamat, the Queen of Dragons, not a deity, or even if she was still subservient to this other being who was not a deity, and that never sat right with me.
In the world of the player's handbook, all serve character alignment.
Yeah, pretty much. And here's the thing, Asmodeus has gone through different levels of deitydom. I think he's a lesser deity now, but he was a greater deity. In my world, he's a greater deity. In my world, Tiamat's a greater deity. In my world, they don't have shit to do with each other.
Okay,
but let's talk about the official lore. And not only is she lawful evil sometimes, and was she technically not a god in the beginning, but she does have a lot of devil-like attributes to her. And we kind of talked about this in the dragon episode where I talk about how sinful dragons are. Yeah. It's very, very 7 sins. They're greedy, they're envious, they're wrathful, they're prideful, they're all these things.
Devilish.
They're slothful, they're lustful, they're very devilish. Mm-hmm. And yeah, exactly. The devils are all those things too. So there is a similar personality matchup there.
Dragons sleep for long periods of time, right? Oh,
they can,
right?
They can.
They'll just go dormant, basically.
They can.
Does Tiamat do that? There's dorm out?
Not really. It's not like a thing. I mean, I'm sure she could. But the point I'm trying to make here is that if you put Asmodeus and Tiamat on OkCupid, they have a 97% matchup. That's my point.
For sure. I see.
So yeah. Also, there are some tidbits of lore that suggest that maybe Bahamut banished her there, and once you're banished to a plane of existence, it's hard to get out.
That's some good magic.
Yeah. and Bahamut is quite powerful. So because of this, though, she does have relationships with devil kind, and she has a lot of devil minions.
Okay.
Like a lot of them. And she eats them too. She used to rule Avernus, which is the first layer of hell. And she had a main pit fiend general dude named Bel, who ultimately betrays her and usurps her. Here's the thing. Like, she has always she did a shit job at her job. Her job was to run Avernus, and because of her slothfulness and her own machinations and plans that she's trying to, she just did a shit job.
She was too much being a dragon, not enough being a devil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very much so. She was too much about her, not enough about the overall system.
Yeah, okay.
And so, her pay got docked and she got demoted. So there is.
The Nine Hells is a corporate Nine Hells.
Yeah, yes, very much so. At least I think so. Now, I do know that in the lore that she did form a deal with Asmodeus to hook her up with the Dragon Spawn Pits. And so the Dragon Spawn Pits are the entrance to the second layer of hell.
Oh, so okay, for sure.
So she controls the gate. And like, I don't like any of this. I'm going to be honest. I don't like the concept that not only was she demoted, but she basically begged for another chance to Asmo. I'm like, this doesn't sit right with me.
You really want to stay here?
Yeah, you really, I mean, obviously, I guess you're trapped, but this is shitty. I don't like this. This is shitty.
I mean, if you're trapped and you want a position of power of some kind, like, the alternative must be awful.
Right. And the thing is, like, she also does a shit job of protecting the gate because she's not good at working for herself.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. You got any questions about like the general Tiamat and the Nine Hells deal?
No, let's move on.
She hates it there. She's always trying to escape.
Yeah. But it's got to be super hard because it's ultra powerful creatures having trouble constantly. Yeah. They probably have to like weave their way into a position where they can possibly even try.
Right. And here, another thing that bugs me is like, she is acknowledged as the sovereign overlord of all evil dragons. And I don't understand how dragons can kind of bend to her will when basically she, in the official lore, she's really shit at everything she does. And she's kind of super trapped and she's deferent to all these other like deities. Like, I just have a hard time imagining like reds and even blues and greens, who are known to be more reverent and zealous towards her, to be deferent to her. It's like, she sucks. Like, why would you respect her? And like, not only does she suck at everything she does, but then she'll eat you.
Right.
Like,
It's probably just respect out of fear.
Right. And it is respect out of fear, but like, she's trapped in the Nine Hells.
Yeah.
You got nothing to be scared of.
That kind of explains why dragons just kind of run amok.
Yeah. I don't know. None of it sits right with me.
Check.
But I also didn't grow up with this lore, so there it is. Anyways, moving on. Not only dragons worship her and follow her, Dragonborn obviously can totally be on her jam. Kobolds are definitely on her jam. Other humans can, because you get the whole tyranny thing and the greed, and like it very much the same way that people would be attracted to like Asmodeus's cults.
Right.
They might be.
They crave the power.
They crave the power and the wealth.
Right.
And Tiamat offers both, or at least she encourages you to pursue both. And she kind of rewards you if you give her some of that.
Okay, yeah.
So there is a very prominent cult called the Cult of the Dragon that humanoids tend to be attracted to.
Nice.
This cult, okay, this is
the Cult of the Dragon.
I kind of want to talk.
It sounds like the Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, I guess it does. So the Cult of the Dragon is exceptionally well organized, has a strict hierarchy, and it's a very lawful evil organization. And I like this. And I like the concept that Tiamat, I don't like the concept of Tiamat being lawful evil because nothing she does is lawful evil. She's so self-serving. Like, all the lore points to her being chaotic evil, regardless of her having the little tag that says lawful evil. Okay. And I like this idea that this chaotic evil goddess demands that her minions and followers be lawful evil because that is more conducive to the worship she wants. Because if all your followers are chaotic evil, you're not going to be able to get them to do anything, and they won't worship you quite the way Tiamat would want.
Right.
So,
and if you follow the rules.
Yeah, if you follow the rules, then it all works out in her benefit. And I like this for this reason. I also like it because it's a good reflection of, in Dragonlance, Takesis, who is basically Tiamat, even though she isn't, she is chaotic evil. And her minions for most of history were chaotic evil, and she kept fucking failing in her takeover of the world of Kryn.
Because no one's organized.
And her antithesis, Paladine, is lawful good, and like the forces of elves and men and the Knights of Solamnia would always come together and work together and defeat her. And after thousands and thousands of years of this happening, she decided to instill a lawful evil doctrine amongst her followers.
Okay.
And she ended up raising the Knights of Takesis. And she totally fucking dominates.
Oh.
It works like a motherfucker.
Nice.
Although it does have this strange effect of like her knights end up slowly kind of turning from lawful evil to lawful neutral, but they still serve her, so it all works out for her.
Yeah,
kinda.
I mean, Tiamat sounds more like neutral evil to me, just because.
That's a fair judgment.
Yeah, you just like want this shit. You're gonna instill a lawful evil thing to benefit you.
I think that's a very fair judgment. I could follow that argument. Damn, fuck it. She's neutral evil. You heard it here.
Welcome to the Dungeoncast.
Welcome to the Dungeoncast.
All serve the alignment chart. We decide.
So yeah, they're well organized. They're usually dedicated to bringing her to the prime material plane. They're dedicated to propagating her children. They're usually raising eggs and shit.
Yeah. Okay.
They hoard treasure and they love fucking up Bahamut shit. Like if Bahamut's doing something, they're usually trying to fuck it up.
Nice.
So,
yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah. So we talked about Tiamat's lair of the dragon spawn pits, and she guards the gate to the second layer of hell. Let's talk about 4th edition lore because I prefer it.
Okay.
In this one, she is a greater deity, and in 4th edition, she has a lair in this astral mountain called Mount Titherion.
That's a dope name.
It's a really cool name. Which was originally the home of a other deity called Zahir. Zahir was the deity of assassins and poison and murder and snakes.
Straight. Oh man.
What?
The Legend of Korra has a bad guy called Zahir, and he tries to kill the Avatar by poisoning her.
Oh, yeah, there it is. So maybe I don't know much about Zahir, but Zahir will get an episode. So
okay,
we'll talk about that another time. Now, it's kind of she was able to force Zahir and his followers out of their like catacombs underneath the mountain.
Yeah, okay.
But she wasn't able to completely rout them. So they're kind of sharing Mount Titherion, but they're constantly warring. And the kind of the ironic or funny thing here is that Tiamat routed Zahir and his followers out of the catacombs and up onto the surface and where the sky is.
Okay, yeah.
But now she's kind of stuck there because she can't get quite out because they're out there, and she wants to because she would way prefer the sky and the surface.
Okay, yeah.
While Zahir is stuck on the outside, wishing he could go back into his catacombs and can't fight his way back in because she's there. And so they're both stuck in this fucking situation they don't want to be in, but their pride also, they can't even conceive the concept of like, well, maybe we should trade places. Like, no, never gonna happen.
I'll never succumb to you.
I know, that's exactly it.
Not even if it benefits us both mutually.
I know. So I like this lore. I think it's simultaneously hilarious and cool.
Yeah.
And
that's a fun story.
And I like the idea of even if she's having to share this, she's not sharing it because like she's subservient to the true rulers. She's like fighting over it still. Like it's an ongoing war.
Yeah, it's like a territorial dispute.
I'm into that. I think it's cool. The symbol of Tiamat is a 5-headed spiral or a 5-pointed spiral where each head or claw, because it's kind of pointed, is a different color. One of the 5 chromatic colors. So
cool.
Black, white, red, green, and blue.
I don't know why. When you said the circular one, the spiral, I pictured the Ouroboros, but with like, instead of one snake, it's just like 5 dragon heads eating each other.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you the Tiamat, the official Tiamat symbol. I think it's a really cool symbol.
Yeah,
it's one of the cooler symbols. Yeah. So as we said in the Lich episode, if it has stats, you can kill it, or at least it can kill you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Tiamat's stats because they're fucking ridiculous.
That's actually a huge throwback to one of our earlier episodes when we were doing Sage DM Wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
It has stats.
Totally
you
is.
Can
I forgot
kill it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. Okay, so I do know that in the Rise of Tiamat adventure, there are supposedly things you can do during the adventure to take out some of Tiamat's features so that she's easier to defeat. And if you do those things, she's almost actually too easy to defeat.
Okay.
But from my understanding, if you fail to do any of these things, she's nigh impossible to defeat. And we're going to talk about how and why. So first off, she has 25 AC, which is massive.
That's really big.
That's incredibly hard to hit. 615 HP, which honestly isn't as high as I would like for her avatar. I would boost that up personally.
Okay.
But there's other things in play here. She's immune.
With the 25 AC, that's...
That, there's a balance there. She's immune to the 5 elements of Dragon's Breath.
Oh, cool.
So what is
Immune.
that? Immune. So what is that? Lightning, fire, cold, poison, and acid. She's immune to all 5 of those things. She's also immune to all non-magical weapons, as should be expected. She's immune to most conditions. I don't think prone is one of them, but I don't remember what the details are, but 90% of conditions she's immune to. Here's where it starts getting crazier. She's immune to all spells below the level of 6.
Ugh.
Any spell cast below a 6 level slot just doesn't do shit.
I mean, thankfully, the spells that you're casting above level 6 are really good.
But then she has legendary resistance, in which 5 times a day she can just choose to save off anything.
God,
so
5 of those?
5 of those. So
Wow.
you're burning these big spell slots, and
She can
if
save.
if she doesn't save, she can just choose to.
Right.
And she probably will save anyways because her saves are huge. So good luck with that.
So she'll still take like the half damage if it calls for that? Like when you save, they still take the half?
I think so.
Well,
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. She has access to a spell called Divine Word, which she can just cast 3 times a day. And I'm actually struggling right now to remember the details, but I do believe that it's something along the lines of Divine Word is cast on you when you have 30 HP or less. You just instantly die.
Oh, bummer.
There's no save, no nothing. You're just gone now.
Single target, though?
Single target, yeah.
There's that.
She can take 1 reaction per turn, which means on her turn she has a reaction, and on every other person's turn she also has a reaction.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yes.
Wow.
5 heads, I guess that's what it does for you.
Yeah.
Regeneration 30, so she's regenerating 30 HP every single round.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
She attacks with her claws and tails and her frightful presence, and of course her tail, like all dragons have.
Right.
She has 5 legendary points.
Okay.
She could spend all these points on like different combinations of her 5 dragon breaths, which are devastatingly powerful.
Right.
So yeah.
Dragon breath is real crazy.
Yeah. Furthermore, she could cast spells like any dragon. That's kind of more up to your DM what you're giving her at that point.
Okay.
But yeah, needless to say, she's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, man.
so-
And I always Tiamat's a winged beast.
Yeah, she can fly.
Yeah. So I always
She's got true sight too.
dude, it's so fuck.
Yeah.
It's so hard to knock winged, like in my head, to knock something winged prone. You have to turtle back it.
Yeah.
Or else,
yeah,
like,
basically.
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, it could just use the tail or the wings to like help pick itself up.
I'll have to look into the rules on this, but I always figure like if something's in flight and you knock it prone,
Does
like,
it just fall to the ground? Or
I mean, even if it doesn't quite hit the ground, like maybe they have to do a save to right themselves. Otherwise, they will hit the ground.
like you knock them prone in midair and now they're in a free fall.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, so I think we talked about that in the Aarakocra episode where I was like, well, if you're up in the air and you get knocked prone or knocked unconscious and you fall, like you might die, especially early levels.
Can you imagine Tiamat like flying through the air and doing like a spiral motion and firing all the breaths off?
Yeah,
That'd be fucking wild.
It would look a lot like her symbol.
It would look a lot like one of those scenes in Pokemon where like Charmander and Pikachu and Bulbasaur and Squirtle all fire their cannon attack at once.
That's
and it's
true.
like a blend of like bullshit.
Yeah, Tiamat, she's just all the Pokemon in one. The ultimate Pokemon. So that's pretty much it. I think in my notes here I wrote on Takesis, she isn't, because she isn't. Like, they are incredibly similar to each other, and there's no doubt in my mind that Takesis is based off of Tiamat.
Okay.
But Takesis is so much more and a lot more powerful and just very, very different. So we'll talk about Takesis if we ever do a Dragonlance episode, which I imagine we will one day.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, do you got any questions about Tiamat, the Dragon Queen? She also goes by Her Dark Majesty.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So just all chromatic.
Yeah.
Just like the embodiment of everything chromatic.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
I mean, I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I feel like I could run this monster. And
Yeah, you
get
think
one
so?
Of my campaigns.
Yeah, you think you could add her to your world and you got all this juicy lore on her now?
I think I could.
Okay. That's good to hear. All right, with that, I think we're going to draw it to an end, folks, and we're going to call it a game.
Let's call it a game. See
All
you
right,
later.
we'll
Thanks
talk to
a
you
lot.
guys later.